Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the Some Other Solutions podcast. I am your host, James Rouse, and thank you for listening. So, unfortunately, my guest today couldn't make it, so you are stuck with me for this podcast. So, it might be a bit of a short one, but don't worry, we got guests coming in the future, and this next guest that I was supposed to have on today couldn't make it, unfortunately, but he is amazing, and you'll be inspired by his story, I'm sure of that. So, today I just want to talk about maybe something that's got lost through these weird times we're living in. So, I'm not going to ignore the subject. It's kind of what's on everyone's mind is this COVID-19 virus that is changing all our lives so much lately. But, sometimes we only look at one side of the story and it's hard to find the good within chaos. So looking back to September 11th, 2001, which many people here know as 9/11, it was a time when a lot of people didn't have hope and things were scary and things were crazy. And a famous quote that went around during those times was by Mr. Rogers, actually. And if you don't know who Mr. Rogers is, he is a former children's TV host from, I think, the 60s, and he went all the way up to the 90s. I don't know, his show had thousands of episodes. He was really famous for developing this kind of child's TV programming that was educational. So, a quote Mr. Rogers said that sometimes he watches TV and sometimes he hears the news and everything just looks so dark, and how can you find light in tragedy? And this is the direct quote. He said, "When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.'" And this is so true. When you look at news broadcasts and articles, we can easily see the sad side of things and the tragic sides of things, and those sides are definitely real, and I'm not dismissing them, but also look for the helpers in those articles. So sometimes, or news videos, look at the police in the background helping, the firefighters, the kind neighbor, the nurses, the doctors, the first responders, the selfless people that are maybe delivering meals to people that are vulnerable. There's always helpers in these articles, and if you look at them, then you can see the good and the inspiration and motivation that things are not always all bad. So today I want to focus on some really cool stories of helpers that I've seen in or read of so far during these lockdown times. So this first story I just find personally cool. I grew up in a small town in New Brunswick called Sussex, and one of the few cool parts, and I'm sorry I offend any Sussex people out there, was that we had a drive-in theater. So drive-in theaters used to be huge before my time. They were what everyone went to before we actually had movie theaters. But in my town, it was something everyone did to go out, and oftentimes it would end up into a big party and just a way for people to get together. It's kind of cool. It's kind of old school in modern times. So this is something that has been coming back in many places right now as people can't get out of their cars or can't go into a movie theater. So I was reading this one story in Texas. Theater was I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to have to lay off all our employees. There's no way we can keep the employees on right now because there's no one that can go to the theater. How can we pay everyone? So they came up with this clever idea. They're like, hey, we have a parking lot. Maybe we can build a stage and put on a show. So what they did is they opened up their parking lot as kind of like a drive-in movie theater and hosted a concert on a big stage, and they sang like all these old 50s classic songs and just put on a show for everybody, and it was packed. I'm just looking at a picture right now, and there are hundreds of cars in the lot just waiting for a free show. And it's a great way to do things because you're safe, you're in your car, you're not socially or physically next to anybody, just the other person in your car with you. And I guess they had about 10 performers come on, and sounds like a really cool experience. So that's not quite a drive-in movie theater, but on that topic, I've also seen many, like, once drive-in movie theaters still exist, have been like crazy busy because it's something people can do safely. And I don't know if you've ever been to a drive-through theater, but you drive in, you turn on your car battery, put it on the radio station, all the audio comes through your radio. You don't even have to open your window if you don't want to. So it's honestly a perfect way to still feel like connected to the community, but in a safe way. So I thought that was really cool. Cool that people are thinking of unique ways to still feel kind of normal during these times. And for movie lovers out there, music lovers out there, there's still a way to go out and enjoy live concerts or a new movie. The next story is quick and simple and so Canadian, and that's why I love it. So, this comes from Robin Stevenson, whose family was away on a trip. And when they were away, there was none of these new measures in place, so they didn't really know what they were coming back to. So, Robin Stevenson and her family, her kids were all on this vacation. They came back, and of course, everyone knows that if you fly back to Canada right now, that you have to go into mandatory self-isolation. So that's where she found herself, and she was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I have no groceries. I'm going to get home, it's late, my kids are going to be hungry, but what can we do? So she got home, and on her porch was bags and bags of groceries. She said she had beans, dates, noodles, lentils, veggies, meat, and even candy for her kids. And it turns out, back in 2016, Robin Stevenson and her family sponsored a refugee family from Syria to come over. And it was them who left them these groceries. So it turns out that since this family has come to Canada, they've opened up their own grocery store. So they had that resource ready for the family, and they were thoughtful. And it's just a simple story, but it just comes to show you how little acts can go full circle. And 4 years later, when one family was helped, they come back and help another. And I think it's just so Canadian because it just shows us how like loving and respectful people can be from so many different walks of life and coming together as one during tough times. So that's my story number 2. Very simple, something we can all do for each other. I see on the Facebook groups, I see people offering to go get elderly groceries. There are whole kind of mini organizations now that they just exist to go get groceries for those who can't leave their house. So it's just it's really simple things we can do to make each other's lives better. And I know everyone can't go out and afford to give other people stuff, and a lot of us are struggling right now as it is, and we might not even have groceries for ourselves. But it's just little acts of kindness can mean so much. It might just be reaching out and saying hi to an old friend, or waving to a neighbor. It's a really cool thing that I've seen they're doing around where I live in Fort McMurray, is some parents and kids are writing different themes every day on their windows. Like maybe today's a sunny, the theme is a sun. So everyone has like this big happy sun on their window. And it's just give the kids something to do. You want to take your kids out for a walk. They can each day look for the different themes in the windows. Also, and this is good for me because I'm one of those people that didn't put their Christmas lights down, is I've noticed people are starting to light up their houses at night in Christmas lights just to make everything feel like a bit warmer and happier. And I think that's something my neighborhood was prepared for months in advance because I am not the only one who doesn't take down their decorations. So apparently, we just really love Christmas up here. Um, so, so that's my other story. And I have one more story I want to share with everyone today. So this story is a little different from the last two. It's less about maybe helping, but showing the resiliency of one person. It's kind of an incredible story, I think. So this is about a man from Italy. He goes by the name of Mr. P. So there's been a lot of media talk about him, but I think he wants to stay anonymous, so he's never revealed his full name. So for the sake of the story and what he's been going by, we'll just call him Mr. P. So Mr. P is an Italian man from the city of Rimini. So Rimini is about a small northern Italy city of about 150,000 people. Not really that much bigger than Fort McMurray or a lot of small Canadian towns. The whole area, the whole province there only has about 325,000 people. So Mr. P is just a regular guy living in a small town, but has an amazing story. Mr. P was born in the 10s in the 1900s, and if anyone knows anything about history, these were quite difficult times. Besides coming off of a world war, the First World War, it was also the advent of the Spanish flu, which a lot of people aren't really aware of, but now that we're going through COVID-19, it's coming back up a lot. The Spanish flu was quite hard-hitting in Spain and other parts of Europe, and also South America, really around the world. When the virus peaked, you had millions of people that died. So here comes along Mr. P as a baby, born in one of the most dangerous times. And unlike this new virus that we have that seems to target older people, Spanish flu targeted young people the worst. So first of all, Mr. P, born in Rimini during these hard times, grew up, survived that pandemic. 101 years later, he is still alive, kicking, comes down with COVID-19 or coronavirus. So he's in Italy, not a lot of medical resources right now, stretched thin. He's 101 years old. He's sick. A lot of people, they don't give him any chance. Sometimes they don't even give ventilators to people this age because their chances of survival are low. And then when resources are thin, they have to triage who they think has a chance. So as of, let's see, what date was this? As of sometime in the past week, Mr. P has been declared COVID-free. They're starting to call him the miraculous Mr. P. So he's become kind of like a figure in his town of inspiration and hope because he fought the odds. There's a good line I read in an article by the Science Times from the mayor of the city, Rimini. He said it was truly extraordinary and that such a recovery from a man more than 100 years old would give hope for the future. Even at 101 years, the future is not written. And I thought that was such a great quote because sometimes when it seems the odds are against you or against us or against society, it's not written. and there's always hope, and there's always changes we can make. So after a century, this man, 101 years old, a centenarian, has beat 2 pandemics. And I think we can find a lot of inspiration and hope from his story. The, the deputy mayor of the city, Lisi, would go on to say at the hospital, Mr. P has become their motivation and their source of inspiration. The mayor directly said, everyone saw hope for the future. Hope for the future of the world in a 100-year-old man, which is an amazing quote. So sometimes we can get hope from the least likely of sources, from someone that everyone said was doomed, that they had no chance of living, and I can happily say is home right now with his family, tested and cured, and living his best life. So I hope these stories can just give you some hope moving forward. I stumbled upon a cool website called inspiremore.com. So if you go into your computers, type in www.inspiremore.com/coronavirus, you will get pages and pages and pages of good news stories about people helping, about people overcoming odds. So this website only has the positive things. And I think it's really important that we listen to our health officials. We stay up to date on the new measures and the news. We take care of ourselves the best way possible. But make sure you're throwing in once in a while. Maybe go on that site and check out the good stories. Because we need that light in the darkness. And we know we can overcome odds. So, like I said, stay informed and stay healthy, and make sure you're taking care of not just those around you, but also yourself. Some other solutions here are focuses on mental health, and make sure you're taking time for yourself and really doing things that make you feel happy and make you feel relaxed and calm. And if you're ever having a hard time, reach out to someone that you trust or you care about. And also, if you're ever having problems, you can reach out to the organizations in your town. If you're in Fort McMurray, we have counseling services. We have a youth team that works with kids and still is trying to do our mentoring online. We also have a 24/7 crisis line, 780-743-HELP. So there are resources for you, and if you're struggling during these times, you don't have to be alone. If you have any inspiring stories that you've seen or witnessed in your towns, feel free to hit up our Facebook. Just type in Some Other Solutions on it and send us a message with these stories. I'd love to hear them. Maybe we can talk about them on another podcast. We're still new. This is still up and running. So I appreciate you. If you're still listening by now, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll be back next week or earlier, and hopefully with our guest. I won't spoil who it is yet, but like Mr. P, his story is incredible, and I know everyone will get something out of it. So that is it for today. Once again, I am your host, James Rouse. Thank you for joining Some Other Solutions podcast number 2, and I will see you later.